We spoke about this on Shabbos, but just a synopsis for what we spoke about. The remarkable thing that I noticed, the very first Purim Maamar and the very last Purim Maamar that Rebbe said is identical on the theme. The Tavshinum Beis 1992 was like a surprise. The day before Purim Cotton, the Rebbe turned to the secretary and he said they should print, I think it was then, he said 5,000 or 10,000 copies of a Maamar based on the Friedrich Rebbe's Maamar Vkibel Hayehudim. The Rebbe asked that they should put it in manila envelopes with a piece of lekach. Wow. Lekach, Purim Cotton. No one understood. No one understood what was going on. It was just... And everyone got online. It was very exciting. And then they realized what happened. Oh, thank you so much. Then they realized what happened. Then the Rebbe had the stroke. Wow. And they realized that the Rebbe wanted to give for Purim. Not only that, it turned, this was the last Maamar. Wow. And every year Chassidim learn it.
Wow.
The very first Maamar that Rebbe said, and also he said the Maamar, most of the Maimonim that Rebbe said, he never later proofread the Maimonim.
Right.
There's an exception, it's called a Mugadik Maamar. Very first Purim Maamar, also Kibul Hayehudim, same theme, that both based on a Maamar from his father-in-law, said in the year Tafresh Pei Zayin. What's so important about this Maamar of his father-in-law? Is you have to understand the circumstances that the Maamar was said. There was a Maamar, the Friedrich Rebbe said, Purim Cotton Tafresh, again, that was in that year with two others, and there was Purim Cotton Tafresh Pei Zayin. The Friedrich Rebbe then lived in Leningrad, which is now Petersburg, and he came to Moscow. It was all clandestine work that the Friedrich Rebbe was doing. There was hundreds of chadorim on the ground. There was yeshivas on the ground. There were mikvahs, some malamdim. It was all, and all this needed to be done in a very quiet way. And the Friedrich Rebbe got a telegram that his personal secretary was arrested.
Wow.
This was my Alta Zayda. He was arrested, and at that time they didn't know why, what, and when. And my grandfather, his whole life, I used to tell him, Zaydi, the Friedrich Rebbe wrote about you, Yelet Choretz, a clever child. Wow. The Friedrich Rebbe was immediately got another telegram, said that there was a smart child that managed to take care of everything. So my grandfather,
destroy evidence.
Yeah, he took all. There was a few. There was boxes, or one box of documents, and he managed to. He was a very wild kid, and he managed to distract the soldiers, the inspectors, and he was able to disappear with this box. And he brought it to one of the Chassidim, who burnt all the documents.
Wow.
Obviously, the Friedrich Rebbe realized that this was serious business.
How old is this child? How old is this?
This child at that time was 1927. My grandfather was born in 1920.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh man.
So
7 years old.
he was 7 years old.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he brought it. Actually, he took care of it. He made sure that all those documents disappeared. Friedrich Rebbe realized that the noose was tightening. This was serious stuff.
Right.
The Friedrich Rebbe had friends in the Communist Party that told him that Rebbe, we're begging you, be very careful. It's dangerous now. Please be very careful.
Wow.
This was in 1927.
1927. This was a day or two before Purim Cotton.
Wow.
So the Friedrich Rebbe was invited to say a Maamar in the Lubavitcher Shul in Moscow, and the Friedrich Rebbe was told that at that time there were a Jewish party in the Communist Party, Jewish part in the Communist Party. Unfortunately, these were the worst of the Shoyim, the worst of the worst of the worst. Eventually, Stalin, Yamach Shemoy, killed them all out, and not to say that they didn't deserve it, but they were the worst of the worst of the worst. These were, like now you have in Congress a woman who said terrible anti-Semitic comments.
Which one?
Bernie Sanders is worse. He's a E.
Let me finish my sentence.
The worst of the worst.
So A Yid comes and defends her. A Yid.
Wow.
Unfortunately, but this is Bernie Sanders makes the Yevsetsky look like good,
What?
the Yevsetsky was the Jewish arm of the Communist Party. These people were the worst of the worst of the worst. And he was told that some of these people are going to be there to mime. And these people understand Yiddish. And they're going to sit there and write notes. And they're going to everything will be reported. And the Friedeker was told, be very, very, very careful every word that you say.
Why don't he just skip it?
Exactly. Why didn't he just skip it? Instead, he said a mimer. And what was the mimer? What was the mimer? The mimer went like the mimer we're going to learn now. That it says in the Gemara that Kiumu Vkibel Hayehudim. What's a double ocean? So the Gemara says that when the Yidden got the Torah, there was a Medor Rabbi Raisa, that they were forced. So when a Yid comes up in heaven, they say, "We uncle, you didn't keep the mitzvahs." He says, "Oh, listen, I was forced. You can't punish me. I never accepted the mitzvahs. Mount Sinai, they forced me." So, but all of a sudden, when it was the time of the Mordechai and Esther, so the Yidden accepted the mitzvahs. So now the Yidden accepted the mitzvah completely. And the Alter Rebbe says the same thing is in the Pasuk, Vkibel Hayehudim that the Yidden accepted what they already began to. So the Pashtup Pshat in the Pasuk is that right away when they won the war against the anti-Semites, there was jubilee and they were celebrating. And the next year, Vkibel Hayehudim that now they accepted upon themselves as a mitzvah. But the Alter Rebbe learns, no, Vkibel Hayehudim they started by Matan Torah, and now was the Gemara Kabbalah. And the question that the Alter Rebbe asks, and the Friedeker Rebbe asks,
the giving of the Torah was a greater event.
that L'chayda was a greater event, the giving of the Torah. They should have been done. How come now was the Gemara Kabbalah? That was the question that the Alter Rebbe asked. And then the answer is that then the Yidden didn't have Mesidus Nefesh, and now the Yidden had Mesidus Nefesh. Okay. So the Friedeker Rebbe added to this. In this Maamar that we're going to learn from the Rebbe is going to discuss what's so special about Mesidus Nefesh. So what? Takid, the 613 mitzvahs, and one of the 613 mitzvahs is that if Chatz v'Shalom they're going to tell a Yid to bow to Avodah Zarah, Yid should allow himself to be killed, and if it's in front of Asorim Yisrael, is Kiddush Hashem Barabim. But I mean, what's the deal here? That this Dafke from this Mesidus Nefesh is the Gemara Kabbalah. Okay, so this is going to be the Nekuda this Maamar. The Friedeker Rebbe said the entire Maamar, and then Friedeker Rebbe added to this that there was a Medrash, that the Medrash says there were 22,000 children, that Mordechai Yehudi collected them, and he was learning with them Torah. Haman came, and Mordechai said to the children, run away, because Haman is going to kill you. And the children said, no. Itchu anu ben l'chaim ben l'mobes. We're going to stay with you. So Friedeker Rebbe said that the Yidden had then Mesidus Nefesh in order to teach their children Torah. So that's why Dafka then it was the Gemara Kabbalah, because the unbelievable thing of Mesidus Nefesh. The Friedeker Rebbe finished the Maamar, and it was a long Maamar. And then the Friedeker Rebbe explained exactly what he meant. He didn't just say. He said that the government is trying that Yidden shouldn't send their kids to public schools, because then it was illegal not to send your kids to public school. Going to kids, they were teaching the kids kfira. They were teaching the kids to
send them to public school.
So the Friedeker Rebbe said a Yid has to have Mesidus Nefesh, and just like the Yidden had Mesidus Nefesh in the time of Mordechai Yehudi, the Yidden have to have now Mesidus Nefesh. And the Friedeker Rebbe went on. And the Friedeker Rebbe took a lot of l'chaim, and the Friedeker Rebbe said unbelievable things. The things that Friedeker Rebbe said, called one of his gaboim, and he said, I want you to write a letter to all the Yidden in Russia, that there was a big Rebbe, my father, and he has a son, and he's giving over the words for the way it's directly from the Rabbanu Shalom, that anyone that's going to send his children to the Talmudic schools of the communists, that he won't live to finish will nicht moitze schnosse sein. You know, like he won't live a good life. And they kept on talking about it. Then he called up those one of the chassidim and he said, Zalman Aaron, I want to ask you a question. If they made a big fire and they tied your hands, they said to throw you into the fire unless you send your kids to the commie school. What will you do? So I say to you, you should jump into the fire and not send your kids to the commie school. And it went on and on and on. The Frierdiker Rebbe didn't stop, and the Frierdiker Rebbe said, I told there was once, he said a whole story. He said that I asked my father before he passed away. My father told me it's going to be very rough. My father told me what the future is going to be. So he said, I asked my father, like Nikolai? So my father said, yeah, like Nikolai. So he
When? Now?
no, but when his father was dying in 1920.
Yeah.
He said his father told him that it's going to be very rough for the Jews and going forward.
Going
His
forward,
father
that
told
point
him,
in time.
yeah, the father told him what's going to be in the future.
Right.
So he said, I asked my father, Azoivi Nikolai, as bad as Nikolai? So my father said, yeah, and worse. So he said there was a story. It was just like a, what does it mean like Nikolai? He said there was a story. One of the Russian kings had a son, Nikolai. I mean, it's like every other third the Russian king is a Nikolai. So the Pavel had a son, Nikolai, and he was doing in the military. He was doing military exercises, and come along. There was an exercise, a military exercise, and he trained a lot of. And he gave out the medals of honor for those that did well in the exercises. On the one hand, his father was really happy that his son built up the army. On the other hand, it was like a slap in the face. Medals of honor a king gives,
Not the son.
not the son. So the king Pavel felt like his son is like putting him into a nursing home here,
Right.
and he's sort of
Pushing
taking
him out.
the de facto. So when his son came to the palace feeling all good about himself, so his fathers told him, you can pack your bags and I don't want to see you for at least 2 years.
Oh.
So in other words, he was banished. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said, I asked my father, Azoivin Nikolai, in other words, this is going to be playing with fire, like Nikolai was playing with fire. This was just like a marshal. Azoivi Nikolai, and my father said yes, like Nikolai and worse. In other words, that what you're going to have to do going forward is going to be as dangerous. It's going to be playing with fire. It's going to be like Nikolai and his father Pavel, but even worse. And the end was that the Frierdiker Rebbe was verbringing. It was till it was entire night. And yeah, the Yevsetsker was there, and they took notes, and that's what triggered the Frierdiker Rebbe being arrested, and that's when his life was an unbelievable sakona, and not only was it a sakona, but he died he wasn't so old, the pashtas because of his ailments of the
treatment.
yeah, Rachmana litzlan. So, Mela, to the Rebbe, this story was a very big thing, because this wasn't just a sermon about the Frierdiker Rebbe, a pshat in the Megillah. What's the pshat? Vkibel Hayehudim as Hayehudim lasos. Why is it that B'shas Matan Torah was only the beginning, and now by Purim it was the final knack, it was the Makabah Patish. Now they accepted, say a sermon and a pshat. Oh, now there's the Ma'ila Mesiris Nefesh. What's so special about Mesiris Nefesh? We'll talk about this in the Maamar. Oh, a pshat. There wasn't a pshat. This was Mesiris Nefesh B'Poil. When the Frierdiker Rebbe said this in Maamar, he inspired Yidden all over to have Mesiris Nefesh, and he himself had Mesiris Nefesh over this Maamar. So this was a very important Maamar to the Rebbe, and as I said, this was the very first and very last Maamar we have from the Rebbe, is based on his father-in-law's Maamar, Vkibel Hayehudim.
But he didn't put in Sakana all the Jews there at that time?
Yeah, himself he put in Sakona.
Himself, okay, but what's surrounding him?
There were Chassidim around him too.
The Mordechai
Sit them around them too.
Everybody else.
The difference between him and the Tzaddik did the same thing.
There's a medrash that says that the Eibishter said to, like Haman said to Achashverosh, he said that these people are lazy people. Every day for them is a holiday. Every day is a holiday by them. It's a medrash. Every day they don't want to work. Every day is a holiday for them. So the Mela, you got to get rid of them. That was the taina that he said. It was Shabbos Hayyim, Pesach Hayyim, Chag Hayyim. Every day is a holiday for them. You can't deal with these people. So the Eibishter said, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rosha. Ata mapil ayin robbe moyedeim shel Yisrael, hare ani mapilcha lifneim u'moisif lahem moyed echad al mapalos chazei yimei Purim. So he said, Rosh, you know what? I am going to make that you're going to make another Yom Tov for the Jews. You're going to make another Yom Tov for the Jews. Yeah. So so the Rebbe said then, the Rebbe at that Fabrengen, when he said, by the way, this Maamar, the Rebbe, they noticed that they were giving Kelechkes L'chaim. And you know that the Rebbe was very strict, only 4 L'chaims, and under 40, this. So, but at that Fabrengen there was something special. The Rebbe said they should get rid of all the small cups, and they should give L'chaim only big kaises.
The last one.
I think this is the only Fabrengen ever that I heard.
In German, this Montei Shabbos, the guy spoke that there was in a Fabrengen. Rabbi Zevin grandchild.
Oh, there was this one about Rabbi Zevin's grandchild.
Oh, that was for him.
So he told him, you said L'chaim, then say for Yezedi. So he didn't finish the cup. He said, why are you mixing your cup with Yezedi? Then I would finish yours, and then I fill you with Yezedi. He said, the whole Fabrengen I was sitting down, it's okay. The minute the Rebbe went outside, my head started going like this.
And then he collapsed.
Yeah. The Rebbe at that time was also tell the story that the last Simchas Torah, his father-in-law told him that he spent with his father, so he asked his father to tell him a Maamar. So his father said, no problem. Go to the other room, fill it up with 96. You know what 96 is?
Yeah.
96% alcohol.
Wow.
You know, you got a Yankel will teach you how to drink some of it. So he said, fill up the cup, go in the other room. There's a bottle over there of 96, and come back. I'll say a Maamar for you. Now the Frierdiker Rebbe figured he just drink I don't know if it was a 7-ounce cup. It might have been a 12-ounce cup. It was a big kois. He's going to drink this kois as X90. He's never going to remember the Maamar. His father told him, how could you not do it? It's mitzvah's kibbud avei.
How is that pachad mefigo?
I know, but there's a story with the Tzemach Tzedek. But this was different. He didn't want to rely on those stories. So what the father told him. So he drank the whole thing ad tuma, put his finger inside, vomited everything out, and then he came back. He said, "I did. I drank it. I drank it." You know, there's a story with the Chidush Hayehudim. He once was saying a shiur to his talmidim, and the Sfas Emes was sitting there, and he seen that no one's understanding what he's saying. He got frustrated, so he turns to his son. He says, "Du verstehst euch nicht." So he was upset, and then he finished his shit. He left. As soon as he leaves, he hears from the other side of the door that the Sfas Emes gets up and he starts explaining his whole shir. So afterwards at night, when the Sfas Emes comes home, he says, "I'm so frustrated. Why don't you tell me that you did understand the shir?" So he said, "Sorry, Father. If you asked me if I understood the shir, I would tell you I understood the shir. But you said you also don't understand the shir, so I should contradict you. It's also it's kibbud avei."
Wow.
So the Frierdiker Rebbe's father told him, so he did it. The Rebbe then said that we should take l'chaim, and people should forget about how their appearance and how the tie is. They're talking about 1950. People were like dressed tip top. It was like the American thing. Forget about.
One of the guys that's for bringing is from California. So the Rabbi told him, forget it, you're a rich man. Take the bottle and start giving to people. So he told the Rabbi, let me give Rabbi Ratchik. He said, I'll do this. You give to the people.
And he said to Teleshevsky, forget about adjusting your tie.
Right. So the Rebbe said that medaf haroizgim von sich und werden an andere. That's all. The Rebbe Rashab told his son that the whole thing is in avodas Hashem haroizgim von sich werden an andere. A person should break his boundaries and to go out of himself.
How do you do that?
So V'meila, Mesiras Nefesh is a big thing of how you do that. V'meila, this was the big thing of this Purim, based on this Maamar of the Vkibel Hayehudim. Vkibel Hayehudim as a Sheikh Elola, so The Friedrich Rebbe explains in his Maamar. The Rebbe just then published that Maamar. That the Yidden from Vkibel now, the thing that they started in Matan Torah, that this that they said Nasa v'Nishma, this was the beginning. That was the Gemara Kabbalah. Matan Torah Yisrael betachlis ha'ilui. Heim gashme sharon aus beim Maamar der Matzah mashubach beyosef in acher flahem beruchne sharon etzlam gilu lukus bedagachim. Acher beim Matan Torah the on the highest level. The Gashmias they just started the inyan of Cherus, and Chazal tells us about the Kesef Zohov and the Bizis Mitzrayim and Bizis Ayam. The Gashmias they were doing really well. Heim beruchne sharon etzlam gilu lukus bedagachim because Chazal say that the Gilu Matan Torah is me'ena gilu deliyosid loving. Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya Perek Lamed Vav that the Gilui of Matan Torah was they didn't get a taste of Lo Asid Lovei, so they were in the highest level you can imagine. Megashmias and Beruchnias. V'meach Hashverish Yisrael betachlis hayirida. By the eyes of Hashverish, Niden v'nebach in the tachlis hayirida. The noise of La Helam Hesed Shebachol Golos Hashachosh Chas Eretz Beribetz Mitzumim Alomas Vesteinim in the Oz Bezmank Zer Samam Hoya Helam Hesed Roid Yosef. That every golus it's bad for Jews, but Chazal say Achashverish is because Huchshuru Pneim Shel Yisrael. The Yidden said Nebach, they became black. They were suffering so much, and the Maamar Chazal Esther and Atoyre Menayim it says Hanoiche Aster, and Yidden are called Esther because of Astoras Ponim. The Eibush is hiding his face. So in this time it was not Stama golus, but it was a unbelievable. Bitter galus.
Talking about at the time of the decree.
Right, at the time of the decree. Yeah. Shoya gzeira lahashmid ulaharig ulaharig. Chash v'sholom es kol Hayehudim menar v'adzokim tav v'noshem b'yamecha. V'afal pichem. How could it be b'zman man Torah sheyisrael b'tachlas ha'ilui ha'rakas chola b'zman gzeiras homan sheb'tachlas ha'shiflus davke oz davke kibul mashechilu b'zman man Torah. How could it be? I mean, we spoke about the Shabbos and we speak, but I'm just reading it inside now. And the answer, the Nakuda, the answer is that the Maila is Mesidus Nefesh. The question is going to be, so what? Mesidus Nefesh is one of Tayag Mitzvah. So why is Mesidus Nefesh so? Mesidus Shabbos by Shalashudas, I gave a little of a simple pshat with a moshel from Nochem Goldschmidt, but the Maimah is going to give, the Rebbe is going to give a pshat to understand it. Hör betoyre hör ma wurde Mesidus Nefesh lamoish shibim hoy ma mirem dasum chaz v'shalom lo yois lam klum ke zer rak Hayehudim afet ken le old soldaita machshavas chutz chaz v'shalom mavar shem Mesidus Nefesh lahem hoy saloy rak shlo lich b'chaz v'shalom al shamos nafshem al kiyum atoyre mitzvos v'ad shekilu kilus rabis lil matoyre b'Mesidus Nefesh. One thing in the Mesidus Nefesh was the Alter Rebbe says an unbelievable chidush which we don't find befedish in the Midrashim. But the Alter Rebbe says that the whole thing that the Yidden are called Yehudim in the Megillah, even though Mordechai Hayehudi is not a Yehudi, he's not coming from Shevet Yehuda, he's coming from Shevet Benyamin. The Alter Rebbe says because the Gemara says that a person that's Moed b'Kadosh Baruch Hu Kefir b'Avodah Zarah, he's called a Yehudi, and the Yidden at that time, Haman was upset against the Yehudim. If the Yidden would convert away from Judaism, then there would be no gzeira against them. There would be no gzeira against them at all. There would be zero gzeira against them. So.
Have you ever seen anyone say anything
like this?
Like this?
No.
I never saw anything.
No. Never find any medrash or anyone saying anything like this.
It's very unusual.
It's unusual because the Alter Rebbe usually doesn't. But that's what the Alter Rebbe says, and the Alter Rebbe says that this no. And Alter Rebbe says that the whole thing was Xavier was I never found any medrash anyone the Yalkut boy of no.
Anything it's opposite.
Right, it's mashmatz on the gufim. No, Alter Rebbe says it that the whole Xavier was against the Yehudim, and if there were Maamar Dosam, there would be no Xavier against them. And we don't find that even one person was. It's a big chiddush in the Alter Rebbe, and Alter Rebbe says it. It's not stam. The Alter Rebbe makes it as a big yisoid in one Maamar and another Maamar, and Chassidus goes with it, and that this is a big yisoid. in the whole story of Purim, that this is and Adrab and the Maimonim talk about that Chanukah was Mesidus Nefesh, but the Mesidus Nefesh was only Matisyo Bonov. A Ma'atim, a few among the Jews had Mesidus Nefesh in Chanukah. But Purim, every single Jew, man, woman, and child had Mesidus Nefesh. So that's the difference. One of the things the Chassidus talk about the difference of Chanukah and Purim. That Chanukah was great, but there was only Ma'atim. Ma'atim does not mean that the Jews are Ma'atim. Among the Jews, there were Ma'atim that were loyal. But in the time of Purim, every single Jew was loyal to Hashem, and if they had converted and they went away from Judaism, there would be no Gzeira against them. And therefore it was Mesidus Nefesh for every man, woman, and child. And not only that, Friedrich Rebbe brings that also they had learning the Torah by Mesidus Nefesh.
Does it say where he got that? Where he finds, where he bases it on?
There's a story. The story, it's a long story with the Noida Yehuda. The Noida Yehuda was there was a mishpocha between him and the Baal Shem Tov. There was a mishpocha, but Noida, huh? I don't know how. The son? No, this wasn't Noida Yehuda. This was the Enikol of Rabbi Akiva Eger. They said the Zayda was a joke to him, to Rabbi Akiva, but the Enikol, his son, not. But this is a different. This is a generation earlier. The Noida Yehuda, they say, it was a mishpocha, not so close. But for it, the Noida Yehuda was nothing. Was not a big admirer of the Baal Shem Tov. So there's a story, a thing with the Tvar Pella that and they asked the son of Baal Shem Tov said it, and then the Baal Shem Tov said so when there was a miracle and everything turned out good. And then they told the story to Noida Yehuda. Noida Yehuda said, "What's the big deal? It's a Befedish Yerushalmi. It's a Befedish Gemara in the Yerushalmi. This Eitzah." But Ba'am Pella, how did the Baal Shem Tov know the Yerushalmi? To me, that's the miracle that the Baal Shem Tov knew the Yerushalmi. So when the Baal Shem Tov heard the story, he's with his big anivus, he said, "What's the big deal? I didn't know the Yerushalmi. I knew this fact from the same place the Yerushalmi knew it."
What's his Megillah story?
Where
It
is it?
says in Eros 12, he brings like 10 different Maamorim, where he says it. And then the last line, V'od, V'chenu Megillah story.
Oh, Kenzain, so I have to find it there. We have to look at Megillah story.
The other Maamorim could find out where it is.
Right.
It's popular to make a distinction between Purim and Hanukkah, but to say that the Haman just wanted to kill all the Jews just because they're Jews, like Hitler.
Right.
Whereas in Hanukkah, they didn't want to kill the Jews; they just wanted to distinguish them.
That's all the Meforshim say. The Levush says it. The Taz says it. It's a Tough Reshain. Right. Okay. Mesidus Nefesh.
So this thing you just said that. He wanted them if they would have
converted.
Meimir Dosam, if they were Meimir Dosam, there would be no Gzeira against them.
Yeah. So that's against what is popular.
That's not against. Not against. Because still, the Gzeira was against them. He wanted to kill their Gufim. If they would convert, then there wouldn't be a Gzeira. That's not against.
And also B'yom Echad, that's kind of...
Huh?
B'yom Echad, you want in one day the whole Jews, like such a serious stuff.
Right.
127,
Right.
You can't even send a message at that time, not like
Right.
now.
Eden couldn't hide or couldn't run
no matter
away.
where you are in the world, how is possible?
Yeah. It's you never know. Eden live in a place and you think everything is so good.
Right.
Like here.
Right.
We think like that, but it's not.
then-
It's seven
and then-
children
I don't
here.
think like that. I
Then,
don't.
then
I don't
the
think
Arabs
that
put
would
up
happen.
one lady, looks good. It would have been an Arab male from the Shiganganazai.
She would have been, it wouldn't have been Arab,
Yeah.
it also would.
Yeah. They put up an Arab woman in the Congress, and
She was
yeah.
making a student with him.
Yeah, two of them. Yeah. And you see, you
And
never
there's
know.
others that they don't admit.
Right.
There's others, we could be sure.
Right. So let's continue. So he says, "V'sodas Mesiris Nefesh Lamayl the Mordechai Yehudi," and the Yidden had a sodas to have Mesiris Nefesh, and that came through Mordechai Yehudi. Moshe Shebedoy Shikl Kilos Barabim L'Chazak Amanosa. Vkibel Mordechai Belim L'Toyrim Tenok Shebesrabim Shem Yisoy Shekol Yisrael Kedis Mevur Baruch Begoydel L'Maylas Hevel Tenok Shel Beisrabim. That Maimah talks about a lot. There's a big Maila, even though L'Choyda, the Gemara says, Abaye was talking then to another Amoyda, and he said, Didi Doch, what's my learning and your learning? What is that, chopped liver? Our learning is nothing. So he said, that when a child learns, Chassidus says a very nice thing about this, that when a neshama is very pure, and also the Jewish body is pure, but the more a person lives, more cynical a person becomes, more coarse, more attached to Taivas Olam Haza. But the children, when they're born, they're more pure because they're not yet so much attached to the Taivas of Olam Haza, and the neshama just came into this world. So that's a certain hevel, a very pure hevel. So that thing had a special thing. 22,000 children. That there was an unbelievable schus of their learning. That there was 22,000 talmidim velimdim Torah b'mesiras nefesh. At sheba homen Rasha Mordechai Amar lahem baruchu lechem shelo techavu b'kachalosi. Mordechai said, "Run away! I don't want you chas v'shalom to be killed." Amru itcha anachnu bein lechem bein lemavish. Kiblu aleim koloina sheyir rach v'rach shelo liparad ma'Torah.
Who gave this kid Mesiras Nefesh? Little kid like that.
Who gave them Mesiras Nefesh? That's what the Rebbe says. I mentioned yesterday, that 22,000 kids don't show up on their own. Every one of these kids has a mother. They don't run away from the house.
Their mother sent
And Lamai, the mother sent their kids to learn Torah about Mordechai Yehudi. So you see,
Did the Rabbi have the children
citizen.
making tefillah in the 770?
You got it.
You're
The
talking
Rebbe
about
was
Kippur Wall?
very much. The Rebbe was general. Was a big thing with the kids.
Yeah.
Tzivus Hashem Ali.
There was Hashem rallies and special time when there were Yidden who
Before
needed
Yom Kippur
special.
Wall, the Rebbe sent people.
The Rebbe had
to
the
press
kids. The kids should there. Because that's based on this Maimah Chazal, that the Hevel, the Abaya and the Bibi was talking, and he said, the Diva the dog? He said, no, because the children are special koyach. Right. So that these children, the Torah comes out of their mouth as a special schus.
This Hevel is from Shlomo HaMelech. Hevel
No, it's not Hevel. This is the good Hevel, not the Shlomo HaMelech's Hevel. This is the good Hevel.
Kedusha.
This is the good Hevel. Shlomo is talking about the not good Hevel. Hevel Abolim. This is the good Hevel. This is b'medesh shekibetz Mordechai Yehuda chol bezelach talmidim alim nem Torah Mesiras Nefesh at sheba homen Rasha Mordechai Omer lehem bircha lechem shel techavu b'kachalos Amru itcha anachnu ben lechem ben lamaves shekibel an kol oinu sheyeh achvarek shelo leporad ma'Torah v'zeh b'kibel Yehudim asher shechel alasas shebezmam ha'an Torah Hoyse rak as cholo zang zer saman like a kabbalah kadesh shalom alaz Mesiras Nefesh v'poil al Torah mitzal ben yenechad v'madriga na'al tzitz kadesh shebezmam ha'an Torah v'lechein dafka ozeh kabbalah v'kibel Yehudim. Dafka then there was the Indian of Vkibel Yehudim. Okay, so bottom line, the Alter Rebbe says that Vkibel Yehudim, Esa Sheichelu Lasas, that the beginning was Matan Torah and the Gemara Kabbalah was by Purim, and the Shaila is why Taka Purim was the Gemara Kabbalah, and the answer is they had a Maila that every man, woman, and child had the Mesiras Nefesh, and Mesiras Nefesh b'Pa'al Mamish for Torah. So therefore they were in the Sala, and then that was the Gemara Kabbalah of Matan Torah. V'tzorech la'ovin. הרי נקודה סביר והמאמר היא שזה שדווקא זמן הגזיר את הקבלה מצד מסירת נפש ומה נגיע כאן שיסוירס ומסירת נפש הול ידי מורדכי. Number one, why is it important the Maimah to emphasize that the Mesiras Nefesh was awakened and rekindled by the Yidden through Mordechai Yehudi? Why is Nageya the thing of the Mordechai was learning with Tinoika Shabbat? They had Mesiras Nefesh. So that's the bottom line. They all had Mesiras Nefesh. גם צריך בי משקוסה בדיוק בתחולת המים הזה שבזמן תורי ישראל בתכלס אילו בזמן הגזירו בתכלס השיפלוס והם ברוחנס והם בגשמס לחויר על הדיוק שבמים בردאיך יתוכם שבזמן שבתכלס אילו רק הסחולו באיס שבתכלס השיפלוס דהוי הקבולה נגיע אילו והשיפלוס ומצא הרוחנים שלהם. What's נגיע בגשמיס? That then they were wealthy and they were poor. Man Torah were wealthy and what's נגיע? The bottom line is the Beruchnius, the Shasvan Torah was Zekeli Bamveu, they were Mamish. They saw the Eibishter. And Vayechzu Eselakim. And here is Golus. Golus Anerche Haster Aster. What's the gay that Bisman, Matan Torah, the Eden were Betachlas Eilu Begashmis, they were wealthy and now they were poor. What's the gay to the discussion here? The Echi Tochen, Shebisman Shebetachlas Eilu, Hoyerak Ascholo, Beishe Betachlas Hashiflus, Vkibel. Negea Eilu Vashiflus is Matzav Aruchni Shalem. Velome maybe V'amayim Sheilu is Bisman Matan Torah Vashiflus Magzer Hoyegam Begashmis. Emes when the Friedrich said the Mayim Eden were also Betachlis Hashiflus Begashmis. Eden were like really suffering.
They couldn't walk on Shabbos.
Right. And Mela, they were Betachlis Eilu Begashmis.
They had no job in the government.
They had
no job.
unbelievable Betachlis Hashiflus Begashmis. Unbelievable. Unreal.
The Anius.
The Anius and Dachkus was, I remember my great-grandmother used to tell the stories. My great-grandmother lived Arichas Yom and Veshonim Tov. She lived very, very long life. Baruch Hashem. Yeah. She lived a very, very long life. And she, Baruch Hashem, she was sharp till almost the end. She lived 107.
Wow.
So, and she had unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh. Her husband was killed because he was Lubavitch HaChosed. He organized Chadorim, and he was a Shoichet, he was a Moyel. And so she wanted her true child, Shalom Torah. Listen, this is what the Friedrich Rebbe said. This was the Maimer. That not to send your children. My grandmother said her father, there was once that they had a trick. They have to go to school. So they used to put on these briefcases with this logo, that they were going to some communist school. And they used to, in the morning, they walked to the they had an Altenbub and lived on the other side of town. And they used to stay in her house and come back at night. That's this, so
they made believe they went.
Made believe. My Baba said there was once they had a viewing of Charlie Chaplin. So my Zayda was, Elta Zayda was scared that Wasset Zayin, that all the kids from the schools are going to go and his daughters are not there. Someone is going to schmeck. So in Taka, the schools were going with the classes to watch an American film, Charlie Chaplin. So he went and he bought tickets for my mom and her elder sister, and he told them that please they should go watch Charlie Chaplin. They should look. They shouldn't see that. He tried every trick, including buying tickets for his kids to go watch it. He doesn't care. Like Charlie Chaplin, I could watch 100 times. Didn't want him to go to the communist school. Charlie Chaplin gave them the shtan. So my grandmother said she had, after her husband was killed by the Yamach Shimon, but she was scared about her children. So she left her little children. He was kicked out of her house. She didn't have a house to live in. So she was like a squatter. She went upstairs in one of the shuls, and she had to hide there because the Gaboim in the shul were working for the Communist Party. So she left her little kids with the older sister, my grandmother. And my grandmother, when she talks about it, Adayom, she was like, she tresels. It's not like, when her mother used to tell the story, it was like, she told the story. But my grandmother, when she tells the story, Adayom, is like, she describes how the windows were howling at night and the lights were off and there was no steam and then the building was freezing. And she would huddle with her little brothers. Her mother went for a couple of months because she had a brother who was a Moedik Talmid Chochem, and he managed to squeeze into a klochos to like it was socialist. So they had these places like farms, and they ever lived together like a kibbutz. We're talking about the Shabbos, but a Russian kibbutz. And he was brilliant with numbers. So he taught himself how to be a buchhalter, an accountant. So he was the kibbutz accountant, and people liked him. So they didn't bother him for Shabbos. So they all knew that he's keeping Shabbos, but they kept it quiet. So he was able to, but it was like a very primitive klochaz. It wasn't one of the good ones. And the people in the klochaz were also very poor, peasants. And they were. But so my great grandmother took her son to go learn Torah there, because he was a Moedik Talmid Chochem. So he'll stay in his house. The people in the klochaz didn't care; they liked him. So and it was not under the eye of the Communist Party, and so her son will live with his uncle, and he'll learn with him Torah by night, the Shabbos, and the mail is not good. But they were very poor, and the klochos wasn't doing well. So there was they sheared whatever was there in the klochos. So they had rice patches, and my grandmother said, my great grandmother, that she noticed that in the rice there were droppings of mice.
What?
Droppings of mice.
Oh, the drop mice.
Yeah. So she said, she told her brother, it's repugnant. How do you let your family eat this stuff? So he got up and he said, Ich bin echt darauf, am Arov. Und ich pasken, dass das nicht trifft, das in ganzen kosher. I pasken that the droppings of the mouse is not treif. It's kosher.
Maybe it's kosher mouse.
A Mickey Mouse. In other words, he was saying that this was his way to keep Shabbos, and this was his trick to get out of the eye of the storm. But no, so the Viola, they had some rice with a little bit of.
Would it be treif from the side of being tameh, or would be treif because it's repugnant?
I don't think he was thinking about the
No,
repugnant thing. He was.
On a din.
Me and you wouldn't eat it. It would be repugnant.
It's surviving.
Yeah.
If you don't eat it, you die. It's surviving. It's
Right.
not like
He said it's not today. It's soya. It's soya. Versteht sich also.
Rabbi Lazar said that when he came to Russia the first time, so Rabbi, the one that danced with the Rebbe, not Yagon,
Kagon?
Kagon, set him up a place and this. He come to him after 2 days, 3 days, and he says, I can't stay in this apartment. He said, why not? He said, at night I hear mouse. It's like crazy. I can't stay. Oh, you have food in the house. That's good.
Okay. The Eibishter shall helfen that learning this Maamar should inspire us, because as we'll continue learning, one of the things the Alter Rebbe says is that the koyach Mesiras Nefesh is the backbone for all Torah mitzvahs. And a person realizes that in the neshama, a person is willing for his loyalty to Hashem to have Mesiras Nefesh. So any other nisyon, every other nisyon is small potatoes compared to that. Every other nisyon, we're a little depressed, and we're a little tired, and we're a little headache, and we're a little sick, and we're a little this, and we're a little that. We're lazy to daven, we're lazy to this, we're lazy for that. But if we visualize, if we were living in the times of Mordechai and Esther, we would have Mesiras Nefesh mamish. If we live now in 1927, we would have Mesiras Nefesh. If it was 1939, and we would have Mesiras Nefesh. So this little thing that we have to do right now, that's this obstacle, it's just a ruach shtus. It's in us to have Mesiras Nefesh. So we have to reveal this koyach Mesiras Nefesh. Sometimes we need a little bit of koyach from a tzaddik like Mordechai Hayehudim to awaken in us this Mesiras Nefesh. That's why when we learn this Maamar from the Rebbe and from the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe, this is the Mordechai Shebedoido. So this gives us the koyach to have Mesiras Nefesh, and the koyach Mesiras Nefesh gives us hatzlocha in our avodas Hashem and everything we do. Maybe shall help. We should have a hatzlocha in all our avodas Hashem, including the avodas Hashem of Simcha.
Amen.